stop. Before you hand over your money for that shiny new television, there's something the industry doesn't want you to know. Manufacturers are playing games, and you're not winning. In 2026, the TV market has become a battlefield of deception. Fake specs, inflated numbers, features that exist only in marketing slides. This isn't a buying guide, this is a warning, because what I'm about to show you could save you from the biggest regret of your year. Every year, homes get smarter, but the decisions, they get harder. Walk into any electronics store in 2026. The walls glow, rows of screens, endless, hypnotic, each one promising to be better than the last. Brighter, sharper, more alive. It's mesmerizing and calculated. Because in these showrooms, confusion is currency. They don't sell you the best television, they sell you the best illusion. The lighting is designed, the content playing on each screen, carefully selected. The placement, strategic, that premium model at eye level, it's not there because it's the best. It's there because someone paid for that spot. And you're walking through a manufactured dream, believing you're making a choice, when really, the choice was made for you, long before you entered. The human lens. But let's step back, because this isn't really about technology, not entirely. It's about the moments we're chasing. Think about it. Why do we buy televisions? Not for pixels, not for hertz, not for contrast ratios. We buy them for Friday nights, when the week finally loosens its grip, when the pizza arrives, when the dog curls up at the edge of the couch, when your daughter asks, "Can we watch this one again?" And you say yes, even though you've seen it 17 times. We buy them for those stolen hours, when the house goes quiet, when it's just you. Coffee is getting cold beside you, lost in a story that feels more real than the day you just survived. Visual. Close-up of steam rising from a forgotten coffee mug. We buy them for connection, for escape, for presence, and the industry knows this. They know what we're really after, so they wrap their deception in emotional language. Cinematic experience, immersive reality, lifelike detail, words that touch something deep. But behind those words, sometimes there's nothing but air. The deception begins. Let me show you how they do it. The tricks, the misdirection, the quiet betrayal of your trust. First, the panel lottery. You've heard of it? Maybe you haven't. Here's the truth. When you buy a television, you're gambling. That's not an exaggeration. That's reality. Manufacturers source panels from different suppliers. Sometimes 3, sometimes 4. Same model, different guts. You could buy the exact same television as your neighbor. Same model number, same box, same everything. And get a completely different picture. Worse blacks, uneven lighting, color that doesn't match. They call it variance. But that's a gentle word for deception, because you're paying premium prices for lottery odds, and no one tells you this at the store. The brightness lie. Peak brightness. It's the number everyone chases. 2,000 nits, 3,000 nits. Some claim 4,000 in 2026. But here's what they don't tell you. Those numbers, they're measured in conditions you'll never experience. A tiny window, a fraction of the screen. For a split second, in your living room, with a real movie playing, with full scenes lighting up the panel, that number shrinks dramatically, sometimes by half, sometimes more. They advertise the peak, the fantasy. You live with the average, the reality, and by the time you realize it, you've already committed. The return window closed, the receipt lost. The refresh rate illusion, 120 Hz. It sounds impressive, smooth motion, gaming performance, the future of viewing. But in 2026, this claim has become weaponized because there's 120 Hz, and then there's 120 Hz. Some manufacturers advertise high refresh rates, but deliver them through software tricks, black frame insertion, motion interpolation, frame duplication. The panel itself? It might be 60 Hz, native, real. The rest is manipulation, digital illusion. And your eyes? They can tell the difference. Even when your brain can't explain it, that subtle blur in fast scenes, that soap opera effect you can't quite shake. That's not your imagination. That's the lie revealing itself. The zone deception. Local dimming zones. Mini LED. Thousands of dimming zones. The marketing screams precision, infinite control, perfect blacks beside brilliant whites. But walk into a dark room. Watch a scene with stars against black space, and you'll see it. Blooming. Halos of light bleeding where they shouldn't. The technology is fighting itself. Because more zones don't mean perfect zones. Algorithms matter. Processing power matters. But those don't make good advertisements. So they give you numbers. 2,000 zones, 5,000 zones, and hope you never watch content that exposes the truth. That bright white subtitle against a dark background. That distant streetlight in a noir film. That moon hangs in a midnight sky. Visual, real footage showing blooming artifacts and various content. These moments reveal the compromise, the gap between promise and reality. The smart TV trap. Your television is watching you. That's not paranoia. That's the business model. In 2026, smart TVs will become surveillance devices. They track what you watch, when you watch, how long you pause, what makes you skip. I pause. This data flows to advertisers, to analytics companies, to entities you've never heard of, and buried in terms of service nobody reads. You agreed to all of it. But here's the hidden cost. Those ads that appear on your home screen, those sponsored tiles you can't remove, those recommendations that feel invasive. You're not the customer anymore. You're the product. And that television you bought, it's still working for someone else, even after you brought it home. The sound betrayal. Look at modern televisions. Thin, elegant, architectural. Now listen to them. Really listen. Where do you think the speakers go? In something this thin? The answer is barely anywhere. Sound has been sacrificed for aesthetics, for that wall-mounted dream, for that minimalist vision. Dialogue sounds distant. Bass is a memory. Explosions feel hollow. And the solution they offer? Buy more. Soundbars, subwoofers, surround systems. What was once included is now an upsell. What was once standard, it is now premium. And your thin, beautiful television needs life support to sound complete. Real home moments. Visual, authentic living room footage, imperfect and real. Let me tell you what they never show in commercials. Real homes, with fingerprints on screens, with cables that never quite hide, with lighting that doesn't come from professional rigs. In my living room, there's a moment that happens almost weekly. My daughter runs in, excited about something, a song, a show, a random thought that couldn't wait. And as she's talking, the baby's toy rolls under the TV stand. The dog notices. Now there's chaos, and the TV keeps playing, ignored. This magnificent piece of technology reduced to background, to ambient noise, while life happens around it. That's the truth commercials can't capture. The technology isn't the moment, it's the frame around the moment. Sometimes it's perfect, sometimes it's forgotten. Most of the time, it's just there. Waiting. The obsolescence design. Here's a question. Why do televisions age so fast? Not the panels. The panels could last decades. But the software, the apps, the processing power, designed to decay, planned to become insufficient, engineered to frustrate you toward replacement. Visual, update notifications, loading screens, compatibility warnings. In 2026, apps disappear from older models. Streaming services optimize beyond what your processor can handle. Updates slow instead of improve. This isn't coincidence. This is strategy. The television you buy today is already scheduled for retirement, not by wear, not by damage, by intention. And when it starts to lag, when apps begin to crash, when the interface feels ancient, you'll blame age. They'll sell you new. And the cycle continues. The display model deception. Remember those showroom walls? Those perfect displays? Let's talk about what you're actually seeing. Display models run in retail mode, a special setting, designed exclusively for that environment. Brightness pushed beyond sustainable levels. Colors oversaturated. Sharpness is artificial. It looks incredible, eye-catching, competitive. But take it home. Switch to normal settings, and something feels different. Less vibrant, less impressive, less like what you paid for. Some stores even use specially graded content, demo reels, designed to showcase strengths, hide weaknesses, create impressions that reality can't sustain. You're not comparing televisions, you're comparing performances, and the best actor wins your money. The review manipulation. Where do you research? YouTube, tech websites, forums? Here's what happens behind the scenes. Manufacturers send selected units, cherry-picked, quality-controlled beyond normal standards. What the reviewer tests isn't what you receive. And the reviews themselves? Relationships matter. Early access matters. Advertising revenue matters. That glowing review might come from someone who can't afford to be negative, whose channel depends on manufacturer cooperation, whose next paycheck is tied to staying friendly. This isn't everyone, but it's enough. Enough to distort the landscape. Enough to make finding truth exhausting. The HDR reality, HDR, high dynamic range, the feature that promised to transform everything. And in some ways, it delivered. On the right television, with the right content, in the right conditions. But here's what 2026 has revealed. HDR has become a checkbox, a marketing bullet point, rather than a genuine experience. Entry-level televisions claim HDR support. They display HDR content, technically, but without the brightness to support it, without the color volume to express it, without the processing to map it properly. HDR becomes meaningless, sometimes worse than standard definition, muddy, dim, the opposite of what was promised. And the certification logos on the box? Different standards, different requirements, some meaningful, some barely better than decoration. The 8K question. 8K, 4 times the resolution of 4K, 33 million pixels, the future. But ask yourself, where's the content? In 2026, 8K content remains rare. Streaming services don't support it widely. Your internet probably can't handle it anyway. Broadcast is nowhere close. Visual, percentage breakdown of available content by resolution. So what are you paying for? Upscaling. The television taking lower resolution content and guessing what the missing pixels should be. Sometimes it guesses well, sometimes it doesn't. But either way, you're paying premium prices for future potential that may never fully arrive. Meanwhile, the money you spent on resolution you can't use. Could have bought better contrast, better processing, better actual picture quality for content that actually exists. The warranty trap. The television is in your cart, physical or digital, almost yours. Then comes the question, would you like protection? Extended warranties. They sound responsible, mature, forward-thinking. But here's the reality. Most television failures happen early, within the manufacturer warranty period, or late, after any reasonable warranty would expire. That sweet spot they're protecting? It's profitable precisely because it's unlikely. The math works in their favor, always. And the claims. Process? Designed with friction, designed with exceptions, designed to make you give up or accept less than you expected. Contrast and realism now. Let me be clear about something. Not everything is deception. Not every manufacturer is dishonest. Not every purchase is a mistake. There are televisions in 2026 that genuinely inspire. OLED panels that produce black so deep they feel like absence rather than color. Mini LED arrays that balance brightness and precision better than anything before. Processing engines that make motion seamless, color science that feels natural, experiences that justify every moment of research. The technology has advanced, genuinely, remarkably. The problem isn't capability, the problem is communication. The gap between what's possible and what's promised. The gap between flagship performance and budget claims. The gap between showroom and living room. The path forward. So, what do you do? How do you navigate this landscape? First, slow down. The urgency is manufactured. The sale that expires. The limited stock warning. The new model arriving soon. All designed to prevent clear thinking. Take your time. A television is a years-long commitment. A few extra days of research costs nothing. A wrong decision costs everything. Second, seek independent voices. Find reviewers who measure, who test in controlled conditions, who show you data, not just impressions, who disclose relationships honestly. These voices exist. They're harder to find, less entertaining perhaps, but infinitely more valuable. Third, know your environment. That showroom television lives in perfect conditions. Yours won't. Windows, lamps, reflections, the afternoon sun that hits the screen at exactly the wrong angle. Consider these realities. Match the television to your space, not to an idealized vision of your space. The honest questions. Before any purchase, ask yourself these questions honestly. What do I actually watch? Not what I aspire to watch, not what I think I should watch. What fills my actual hours? If it's news and casual streaming, you don't need flagship specifications. If it's competitive gaming, refresh rate and input lag matter more than resolution. If it's cinema, genuine cinema, contrast is king. What's my room like? Bright, dark, controlled, variable? An OLED in a sun-drenched room fights a losing battle. An LCD in a dark room might disappoint. Match the technology to the reality. How long do I keep things? If you upgrade constantly, maybe future-proofing matters less. If you buy for the long term, processing power, build quality, and software support become crucial. Know yourself, then choose accordingly. The brands. They hope you trust. Let's talk about names. Brand loyalty is powerful, comfortable. It simplifies complex decisions. I've always bought this brand. My parents trusted them. They've never let me down. But brands change. Ownership shifts. Quality control varies year to year, model to model, sometimes panel to panel. The name on the box in 2026 might mean something different than it did in 2016 or 2006. Evaluate the specific product, not the legacy. This year's offering, this panel, this processing, this experience. Loyalty should be earned annually, not assumed, permanently. The price tag lies, not completely, but significantly. It doesn't include the soundbar you'll feel compelled to add, the streaming subscriptions to fill it with content, the electricity it consumes, the mount that costs more than expected, the cables that somehow weren't included, the gaming console to match its potential, the calibration tool to realize its capabilities, the extended warranty they pressured you into. A television is an ecosystem purchase. It connects to everything. It demands companions. It creates ongoing costs. Budget accordingly. The number on the tag is the beginning, not the end. I've shown you a lot, perhaps too much. The deceptions, the manipulations, the gap between promise and reality. But I want to end somewhere different, somewhere honest in a different way. Despite everything, the magic still exists. That moment when the room goes dark, when the opening credits roll, when your daughter leans in, when your partner's hand finds yours, when the dog sighs and settles, when the story begins. In that moment, the specifications vanish, the technology becomes invisible, the television disappears, and only the experience remains. That's what we're protecting. That moment, that possibility. The deceptions matter because they threaten this. Because you deserve to reach this moment without overpaying, without disappointment, without the quiet regret that something isn't right. The brands counting on confusion, they lose when you understand. They profit from overwhelm. They suffer when you're informed. Here's what I've learned. The best television isn't the brightest, or the thinnest, or the most expensive, or the one with the longest spec sheet. The best television is the one that fits your room, your content, your budget, your life. It's the one that disappears when it should and appears when needed. It's the one that serves the moment, not dominates it. And finding that television requires ignoring noise, requires patience, requires questions, requires understanding what you actually need, not what they tell you to want. Every year, televisions get smarter, but in 2026, maybe we need to get smarter too. The reality check. The coffee went cold again this morning. I was watching something I'll barely remember by next week. But in that moment, I was somewhere else, lost in story, free from schedule, present in fiction, and somewhere in the background. A baby toy sat under the television stand, from yesterday's chaos, forgotten. Life isn't the showroom. It never has been. It never will be. And maybe that's the point. The television that works is the one that lets life happen around it. That doesn't demand attention. That doesn't require defending. That just exists, faithfully, quietly, ready when you are. They want to sell you complexity. They profit from your confusion. They celebrate your overwhelm, but you want something simpler, something that works, something worth your money, something worth your trust. Before you go, hit that subscribe button, because here, we don't just review, we expose. From the hype to the hidden failures, to the tricks brands hope you'll never question. So hit like, tap subscribe. Join thousands of smart shoppers who already know. Smart spending starts with asking smarter questions. The next time you walk into that showroom, remember this: you have the power, not them. Use it. It was never about pixels. It was never about specifications. It was never about the brightest claim or the boldest promise. It was always about presence, about protection, about